Hey everybody, good evening. You asked for it and I've decided to do it. Yes, I have brought back my little cooking show that was born in the pandemic, and by popular demand I am bringing it back. So tonight is my first episode back, and I decided to keep it really simple and really delicious. Of course, it's the end of the day, it's Tuesday. Everyone's had a busy day. I've been on listing appointments. I, went out to the Barn and Road and getting ready for the Equine Expo tomorrow, and, negotiating home inspections, all of those things, that you typically do as a realtor, while you're working. So it's dinner time, and I am making something that's actually pretty healthy for you. It is shrimp with coconut ginger lime broth. It is technically a soup, but I will show you. I like to serve it over rice and kind of make it kind of like a cross between a stew and a soup. But I like to have a little bit more something to it to, just get it. Hey Josh, how are you? I've gotten some of our ingredients ready. Obviously, I have some shrimp here. These are large shrimp. They are peeled, deveined, and there's no tail on them. Ingredients. I will be posting, when this becomes a video later, I will put in the caption the recipe. So I'll have the list of ingredients and the steps to make it. This is super simple. Anyone can do it. So again, we're starting with the shrimp. I took a little bit of a shortcut. I have shiitake mushrooms that calls for 8 shiitake mushroom caps, and you're going to slice them. But at Wegmans, they make them already sliced. So that saves me a little bit of time. So I got 5 ounces of already sliced shiitake mushroom caps. And then this little area here is going to be flavoring our broth. I have a couple tablespoons of chopped onion, and this is chopped fresh ginger. And then I have this other ingredient here. This is some chopped up lemongrass, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how I prepared the lemongrass. You may or may not be familiar with grass. But let me tell you, I wish you guys could smell this because it smells absolutely delicious. And I think it's really important, for me, it's really important to use like real herbs and not use dried. I only use dried if I absolutely have to, but I don't even think they make dried lemongrass. And it's not a common thing. You might have to go to a specialty store to get it, but around where I live in Leesburg, I get it at Wegmans, and it's a beautiful ingredient. So that's pretty much it. Oh, the other things that we have are coconut milk. I already put this into a beaker. This is full fat, unsweetened coconut milk. And I use the full fat because I really wanted to get the full experience of this kind of rich coconutty broth. You can use the light, and the reason I put it already in the container is that if you've ever opened up a can or tried to shake up a can of full fat coconut milk, you'd be shaking that thing for forever because there's like this much solid on it, like half the can is solid. So I end up scooping it out into a container and then like whisking it until it's smooth. There's a little bit of chicken broth, there's some canola oil, a little bit of butter. I have a fresh lime that we'll be using later. And the recipe also calls for a little bit of cilantro, and you'll see how this works. So I'm going to move this over so that you can see a little bit better while I'm working. It's all right. I don't have a professional setup, so you guys just have to deal with me. So I have a medium saucepan here. I'm going to throw a little bit of canola oil in here, just like a splash. As you can see, I don't really measure. I'm also going to throw in a tablespoon of butter, and I'm going to turn this on to medium and let that melt. And while I'm waiting for that, I better get a spatula, a spoon. I'm going to get a spoon for that. we're going to want to get that melty down to like where you see like the butter foaming. And then we're going to throw in the onion, which if you don't have onion, most people have onion laying around, but you know, just shallot would be really nice too, a little bit milder. And then I really do recommend, this is, if you haven't seen it before, this is what a ginger root looks like. It's kind of knobby and stuff. So to get the amount of ginger that you saw here, this was about a good 1.5 inches of ginger. So if I were going to be doing this again, I would just break this knob off, and then you can easily peel it and then chop it up. And the great thing about this is that you really don't have to chop it up like in any kind of special way or finely, because you'll see we're going to be straining it out later. It's basically going to be steeping in the coconut milk just to flavor the coconut milk, and it really comes out really great. So this is what I wanted to show you. If you haven't seen what lemongrass looks like, this is a stalk of lemongrass, and I chopped up about a half a stalk. And this is, I chop off the end, and then I cut it off, and then you'll see this is the one that was left behind from the one that I chopped up. There is a kind of hard outer stalk, and what I do with that, I peel it off, and one easy way to peel it off is to just place this on like a hard surface and then use your knife and kind of like crack it. You know, you use the blunt side of your knife and just crack it, and then you can just peel it right off, and then that chops up really easily. So I am seeing that the butter is starting to foam. You probably can't see that all that great. So I'm going to go ahead and put in our onion, our ginger, and the lemongrass. I'm going to give that a stir. Let's see if you can see that. And this is only going to take a few minutes because we just want them to start to sweat. We want them to start to release their flavors even more. So it smells really good. I wish you guys could smell it because it smells really, really good. Yummy. So while this is kind of just kind of macerating here, I'm gonna get our shrimp ready. So the shrimp have already been peeled, detailed, and deveined. You can buy them that way, which is how I prefer because I don't really feel like wrestling with the shrimp. But if you're in a pinch and you can't get them peeled and deveined, it's not that hard. So I'm gonna go ahead and season these with it's my little salt box. In my salt box, I keep the kosher salt on the one side, and then I have like this fancy finishing salt on the other. It's called Maldon salt. So I'm just going to take a pinch of the kosher salt. You could use a fine like sea salt if you like sea salt. If you're trying to watch your salt, then you can control the amount of salt you put on here. So I'm putting like 3 pinches on here, and this is 1 pound of shrimp. And then I'm going to season it also with ground white pepper. And I like using white pepper on white foods in places where you don't, want to see like the black pepper on there. You could use black pepper. It's not going to ruin anything. But so I just put a bunch of that on, and I'm going to mix it up. I'm just going to use my hands to mix that up. Okay. All right, so our aromatics here are in really good shape. So I'm going to turn this down to low. And that's about 3 minutes. And then I'm going to add our coconut milk. So this is 1 can, 1 16-ounce can of coconut milk, which turns out to be about 1.5 cups. And then this is a 1/2 cup of chicken stock. And I use unsalted chicken stock if at all possible, because I want to control the seasoning myself. So I'm just going to give this a stir. and we're going to want this to simmer for like 5 or 6 minutes. So I still have this on like medium heat. So hey Lisa, how are you? Hey Carol. Carol, we need to have lunch soon. I haven't seen you in forever. All right, so that is that. All right, so let me clear out these things. So after this simmers, we're going to throw a little bit of cilantro, just the stems. You don't even have to chop it up because literally it's just in there. It's kind of like tea. You're just going to let it steep. You're getting the flavors of it, the aromas of it, and then we're going to strain it into another pot. I have that already here. So I have like this other smaller pot with a strainer. So all of these like solid pieces are going to be strained out of it. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of it going. We still have our shiitakes and our shrimp. So we've seasoned them with the salt and the white pepper. That is the shrimps. And we're going to saute them. I'm going to move these pans around. I have a smaller saute pan that I'm going to put on medium heat. And I'm going to move the coconut milk over to another pan, over to another burner to simmer while I get this ready. So we've got our saute pan heating over medium heat. I'm going to throw a splash of canola oil. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, I use olive oil, but for something like this, I don't think I want the olive flavor in there. So we're definitely going with canola oil because the canola oil will not bring any extra flavors in there. It's kind of a nice neutral oil. I'm going to spin this around the pan. And I want to let that heat up a little bit before I start putting shrimp in there. Hey, Taylor. So, yeah, it's feeling warm. So as you know, shrimp cook really quickly. It's not going to take long. They're going to take about 2 minutes per side. And what I'm going to do is kind of spread them out. So the recipe calls for 24 shrimp, but that's not going to be enough shrimp. I'm just going to tell you. Mark will eat 24 shrimp just by himself. So I cooked the whole pound of shrimp. And you know how your family eats, so you can adjust the amounts according to the eating habits in your house. But one of the other things I'm going to show you really quick is that I was telling you that I like to serve this over rice because I feel like as a soup it's just not quite enough. Maybe this would be a nice lunch as a soup on its own. But I've discovered this thing at the store, which you may have already heard of, but you can get at Wegmans and at the other stores, you can get frozen steamable rice. And I usually get the long grain brown rice. And you can microwave this, and in 3 minutes you have rice. You don't have to mess around. I'm a terrible rice maker. I'm just going to, everybody has like their things that they're good at and not good at. And for me, making rice, I am not good at it. And I've also discovered in the specialty aisle that one of the types of rice that I really love is jasmine rice. Like if you go to a nice Indian restaurant and they serve like this delicious rice, and I can never reproduce it at home because it's not sticky. It's like all like perfectly prepared, and I've never been successful at it. So I did find in the specialty aisle at Wegmans, you can actually buy these little containers of already prepared jasmine rice. They're in like a little serving thing with a plastic like sort of like a cover on it, and you just pierce it. You can microwave it, and it is like the jasmine rice that you get at the Indian restaurant, which for me is like, that was like a life-changing thing. So my shrimp, I'm seeing my coconut, I'm turning the coconut milk down because that started to boil, I could see. So I want that to be at a simmer. I don't want it boiling up and getting all crazy. So my shrimp is doing good, so it's time to flip it, and you can see, it's time to flip. I should probably be doing this with a spatula. So it's really easy to overcook shrimp, so you want to keep an eye on it. And you'll also notice that when we go to do the shiitakes, they are easy to overcook as well. And when they overcook, they stick to the pan, and that's not fun for cleanup. That's not fun. So just flipping these guys over. So I know ever since I posted that sneak peek of some of the recipes I was trying, one of them is the mushroom pot pie, and I have gotten so many messages about that darn mushroom pot pie. But I will tell you, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be a couple weeks before I do it. Because honestly, it's gonna need a lot of prep before I do it, because there's a lot of, it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth the steps. It's definitely worth the effort, because it really is delicious. But there is a lot of steps to making that mushroom pot pie. So I'm just giving you fair warning. Next Tuesday, I have a special guest chef that's going to be with me, and we're going to be making something I've never made before, which is stuffed artichokes. So I'm really kind of excited about that. When I was growing up, my mom was a very kind of fussy eater, and as a result, we kind of had a very small list of things that we ate for dinner. They were all good, but it was just not a lot of variety. So when I was out on my own and started like figuring out food, I was like, the artichoke was like so exotic for me, and I've been really kind of intimidated to make it. So I'm really looking forward to working on. I'm going to make it a surprise who my guest chef is, but he is a good friend of ours. All right, so these shrimps are nice and pink. I think they're done. So these bad boys, I need to take them out, and I'm just going to put them on a big plate and put them aside. One of the reasons I like making shrimp and seafood a lot is not only is it healthy for you, but it also cooks really fast. And at the end of the day, you really want something that's going to come together really kind of quick. You don't want to be messing around. It's not like the weekend where you have like all this extra time. All right, so the shrimps are out, and now I am going in for my shiitakes. I'm going to dump these in. Again, if I didn't have Wegmans to slice these up, or if they were out of them, I would be slicing them. It's really not a big deal. You can see I'm just going to give it a little toss in here to get all the juices and oil that were there left over from the shrimp in here. And we just want to saute these, and you do want to keep your eyes on these shiitakes, because if they start to overcook, they're going to stick to the pan. And this is even like a non-stick pan, and it'll still stick. So I'm keeping an eye on that, and if I have to, I'll throw a little bit of extra oil in here if it gets a little too dry. In the meantime, I think our coconut milk is done. So here's my smaller pan with my strainer, and I am going to pour. Let me see if I can angle this so that you can see. Here, I am pouring into here, and you'll see all of our solids are getting caught in the strainer. So that's why those cuts don't have to be perfectly perfect, because they're all being strained out. I'm just going to toss a tiny bit of oil into these mushrooms. Pan's getting a little dry. There we go. And I've learned this, like, because I've made this a couple of times now. I've made it a couple of times now, and I just didn't, it stuck to the bottom, and it was kind of a nightmare to clean. I had to soak overnight and all that stuff. So, and then I didn't have as many mushrooms for my dish. So, these are coming along really nicely. I'm going to let them go a little bit longer. Let them get a little bit browner. And we're almost ready to plate. That's how quick this is. Now, I could go ahead, I'm not going to show you this, but I'm going to, I'm going to put my rice in the microwave, and that takes about 3 minutes for that frozen rice to get finished. But if I were just serving this as a soup, it's super easy to put together. And I will show it to you like a soup. Okay. All right, I think these shiitakes are done, just so you can see what they look like in the pan. Now that they're done, they're kind of nice and kind of browned. Now, what I really wish I had to make this is a different kind of bowl, but this is the bowl I have, so this is the bowl I'm going to use. Hey, Lee, so nice to see you. So if I had like a more shallow bowl, this would look prettier. But this is what I have, so this is what you're going to get. So how you put this together is I'm going to put a little bit of the shiitakes on the bottom. Then I'm going to put my shrimps on. Let me move the plate over here where I have the shrimps resting. So this is like, 6 or 8 shrimp. Let me hold that up. So that is the prep. And then I have this really beautiful coconut milk broth that has been steeped in ginger, lemongrass, and lime. Ooh, I forgot the lime. Here's our lime. We're going to go ahead. What I like to do with the lime before I juice it is I just kind of roll it like this, because that kind of gets it started. And then I'm going to slice it in half. And I'll get my juicer. So here's my juicer. And what I'm going to do is, here is my pot of broth. I'm just going to take this it's not the biggest lime in the world, but I'm going to go ahead and just juice the whole thing in here. And again, you can use the bottle lime juice. No one's going to, the police are not going to come, but I really do encourage you. I mean, a lime is 59 cents. It's definitely worth 59 cents of flavor. It's worth way more than 59 cents of flavor. So I'm going ahead and juicing this whole lime in here. Again, it smells totally delicious. So, and actually, since I already put some in my bowl, I'm going to juice a little bit of this lime right into my bowl. So, and that's pretty much it. You've got this beautiful coconut kind of broth that's been steeped with the aromatics. You've got the onion, you've got the ginger, you've got the lemongrass. You've got the lime juice. You also have some cilantro in there, and all of those solids got filtered out with the strainer. And you end up with this really great dish. Let me spoon. So here's my broth. It's definitely worth using the full fat coconut milk. I'm just saying. If you really want to watch the fat, get the light. It'll still taste good, but not as good as the full fat. I'm just saying. And here's the shrimp. Oh my God. It is so good. I wish you guys were here. All right. So again, when the video gets downloaded, I'm going to put the recipe and the ingredients in the comments. You'll be able to follow along. I do want to tell you that I got this recipe from Eric Ripert, who is a French chef. And I found this recipe on a new app that I'm trying called Flavor, Flavr. I just downloaded it and I started following Eric Ripert. He's a wonderful French chef. And I made this dish over the weekend, really loved it, and I was so glad I could share it with you. I hope you try it. I definitely encourage you to try it. It's easy, it's quick. How long have we been on here? Like half an hour, and you're ready to eat. So again, I will see you guys next time, and watch for the video. And Haley, thanks for all the hearts. I love the hearts. So again, I will see you guys next week.